All right, we got a fun one for you today. It is a roundtable discussion about what AI is doing to our creativity. I'm Dave from Plain to Being. We're a creative business school, and we're putting together a curriculum for a new course. And in doing so, we've been talking to entrepreneurs and artists about how to best support their creativity. And what keeps coming up is AI all the time. Like what it's going to do, the fears, the emotions, the technicality, what it's opening up. So we pulled together a group of friends, some designers, some engineers, some marketers, a social worker, and a comedian to ask the question, what is AI doing to your creativity? So the conversation is really fun, and here it is.
Yeah, I think without further ado, we don't necessarily we have this prompt of what is AI doing to your creative life, but any jumping off point works here. And so if someone's feeling something already that they want to lob into the group, let's go. Otherwise, Dave and I'm sure can come up with something.
Yeah.
I have many thoughts on this, if anyone doesn't mind me starting.
No, please.
So I'm an industrial designer and I use AI all the time, but I'm a very big advocate for it being a tool because I think there's so much fear mongering around it replacing us. And I actually think it's more of a way to help be more productive. So it will definitely replace, I think, more intro beginner level jobs. Unfortunately, like the internships and everything like that, where basically in my field, there'll just be someone being the 3D model monkey or the rendering monkey who just doesn't have a say in the design itself. But I think that you still need someone to be the creative director and you still need the people to create the idea. And also in industrial design, there's like a functional component to it. So you still need someone to be able to make sure that it is functional, at least where AI stands now. It's not capable yet of, let's say, creating a fully functional object. Maybe it will at some point. But for instance, for my workflow, I use it a lot for rendering. So I'll 3D model a design and then I will render it myself, but then I will use it as a additional rendering tool. So if I don't think the material looks right or looks realistic, it takes a really long time in rendering software to be able to make it look realistic. And so now I could just throw it in AI and it'll do it for me really quickly, as well as putting it into a scene. So it helps me get
Mm-hmm.
my concept across better than I would have been able to, or I would have taken a lot longer to do so, basically.
Hmm.
Yeah.
For industrial design, is it able to like understand materials at all? Or is that still like
Good
not really
question.
well documented, or like you just have to imbue it with that knowledge?
It's a mix. I think I use a lot of references, give it a lot of references. So there's some programs that do. So I use this upscaler called Magnifique, and basically you'll say like make this fabric look more realistic by adding subtle dips and like inconsistencies because inconsistencies are the thing that makes it look real, and it will sometimes hit the mark and make it look like really good fabric and then sometimes it doesn't and then you have to feed it an image of the type of fabric you want and then it will kind of copy it.
Yeah, is it like in the era where like the diffusion models first came out, like Mid-Journey, and it's like, oh, like
Mm,
there's an extra finger in here. Everyone has like
Yeah,
six or
yeah.
seven fingers. It's kind of like that, but needs time
with
to catch up.
fabric.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, with fabric for sure. It's getting a lot better. Like even in the last 6 months, I've noticed that I'll render a rug and sorry if you guys can hear the sirens.
No.
Nope.
Oh, great. But yeah, I think the last 6 months it's gotten really good where I would not be able to do a rug realistically at all. And now you can actually see like, is it hand knotted or hand tufted, like different variations of rugs.
Mm-hmm.
So but once again, it's not like every time it'll hit. It's maybe like 1 in 5, and you have to figure out a workflow to make it look real. So it's just trial and error.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. So my sense of it, like, howdy. Hey, good to see your face. Uh, so that replaced what you just described. Seems like it replaced a lot of like different types of collaboration and tool making and processes and these kinds of things. Like, was there an emotional response to any of this? Like, did it shift the way that you relate to the way you're making things at all?
Not for me, but I know that for other people, it's a huge it's a sensitive topic, I
Yeah.
think, when you talk about rendering something in AI. So I post my videos online on social media and of me making different products. And I've noticed that when I don't show part of the process that I've made, like me 3D modeling or me
Yeah.
sketching, people get really up in arms and they're like, is this AI? Is this slop? Like, I think that people
Mm,
are really worried about AI taking over almost like our taste and like taking over the human element, which is like the
mm,
thought behind it. Because I think for a long time, especially with Midjourney, everyone was just throwing like, woo, this is fun. Like we could generate images and they were just throwing it out there. So I think
mm,
now everyone's really sensitive about it. So I almost need to show that there is some like personal touch put into it, like showing a 3D model so that it almost calms people's nerves to say like, oh, they didn't just make this all on AI. So I don't mind using it as a tool and I enjoy the process. And emotionally, it didn't take anything away. Actually, it made
yeah.
me excited because it actually
Mm,
unlocked more as an individual creator than like having to hire someone to do the thing that I wasn't very good at, you know? Now I
hmm
can just
hmm
do it all myself. So I think it's great for like individual creators, but a lot of people get really worried because there's some people that aren't using it. Um, they're just like having an idea, putting it in AI, and then like acting as if it's real. And you
Mm.
know, that's like an issue for a lot of people.
Yeah. Anybody else who's playing in this kind of realm? I'm very curious about like the personal experiences of uh like, so Lane mentioned, there are all these rendering things and like shortcuts effectively that allow you to get to a final product more rapidly. I know I've experienced that with writing stuff, with illustration stuff, and it's radically changed the way that I relate to making things.
Yeah.
Like how quickly things can go out the door, and also like noticing there are certain aspects where I notice where I'm letting the machine do too much of the thing.
Yeah.
And then
Mhm.
I feel this like dropping into like nothingness. Like I don't know if it's like slop poisoning or something like this. And so I'm curious about like, what everyone's experience has been with whatever their mediums are.
I have a good segue into that because like, one of the, I don't know if the word is pillar, but one of the main ways that I use AI for creativity or that it's really helped me become more creative is inputting my like human design and Clifton strengths and like personality insights
Mm.
into a project.
Mm,
And um, early on, I think it was like maybe two-ish years ago, early on when I started using AI, one thing that I realized pretty fast was because of how it's designed and because of how I'm designed, I am very sparked by ideas. So if I have like a good idea, which I have many often, I really like to like take action right away, or I get very like, oh, gotta do this. Like sparked is the right word. So I noticed very early on going back and forth with AI, it was easy for me to like loop or get into like,
Yeah.
mm,
long conversations with AI because I'm like, this is good. Like this is good. This is a good idea. This is a good next step, bringing me into the next thing.
Yeah.
And so I started to realize when that would make me drift versus when it was good, slash, look at it as a new part of my creative process of where I could get inspiration in a different way. Um, uh, that helped me like the way that that looks now is kind of for meaning making, for better or for worse, right? um for example, when I am working on like kind of trying, the other day I was trying to, well, this isn't going to mean much to everybody, but I really am thinking about this concept that I'm playing into being. You guys know Cult Gaia, like the art concept, goes like lifestyle fashion brand. It's like this
Mm,
whole thing. So in my head, I'm over here like, what would it be like to create the Cult Gaia of digital sovereignty? Another way to think of it is like Skims, right? Like how they do drops and everything. Digital
mm,
sovereignty is like such a nerdy, it is uh like cybersecurity for nation states. Like it can go so far, so nerdy, but there's something there around like how people become empowered around the internet. So I've just been playing around with that concept, and the way AI shows up in my creative process for that is that it helps me pull in research. And then I also do things around like kind of getting clues. So I was working on naming, and then it was introducing like all of these kind of like arc like breaking down the name and what it means in Latin, and like the archetypes and mythology that that comes from, and then I'm like, wow, that's crazy that that means that and whatever. So
mm,
that's a way that I use it in a very, I think, contained and specific way with more awareness now, where it's kind of like this is one of the rabbit holes I go down, and I can take this for what it is, and then it'll show me whatever it is, and then it'll help get me to the next step of the process. So that's
mm,
something I have enjoyed with more awareness of my human design as a new, like, just like how I would go to a coffee shop. It's like kind of like a new dimension for creativity.
Mm.
Um,
interesting.
Now, that's like individual, and there is definitely a fine line for me around consuming and using that. And similar to what you were saying, Dave, like outsourcing and like noticing that my brain gets very drained, and my memory has like changed. I feel like my
Mm,
cognition.
Mm-hmm.
uh, Kristen introduced me to one of our George COC Samuels, who talks about this a lot around how AI impacts your cognition, and that has become very like clear to me that if I'm consuming too much, it affects it, and I go full circle back to the value of my creativity is my brain. So it's been this again loop that I'm just aware of. But there's the personal creativity, and then there's also, I think, such a significant impact it has on collaborative creativity,
mm,
especially some of the things that you were talking about, Lane, of just like people's responses to if something is being used with AI, and kind of like the ruffling of the feathers. And I come back to this idea of an edge, especially for creative people, especially in a world where creative people are getting laid off or industries are getting becoming extinct, like whatever it is. There is this really weird dance that I don't think humans have necessarily decided on, because I think it's everybody has to come back to themselves around people still being able to be competitive with AI. People want like what AI can give them in terms of I guess competitive is the right way to say it, but they also want the human. But like, how can you outsource your humanness if you're building a team and if you're trying to scale almost like without AI? And yeah, there's like best practices, but it's still, from what I'm seeing, is still very hard for people to integrate the technology and get the output they want. But it's confusing to feel like you can fully focus on the old way of humanness when this new way is just like going at such a pace where it is easy to become gonna use a word irrelevant, but what I mean is like it's easy to not be able to participate and meet people where they're at if they are so far in that world. And there's
mm,
value to humanness, but what I found is only if you are like, or not only if, but like there's value to the humanness if you can also bring it to the context of, hey, I'm up to date on everything AI, and this is still my take, right?
mm,
So it's just been very interesting. The collaborative creative piece is the part that feels like the most friction for me right now, because I'm in a lot of groups of people trying to work together to like bring out the humanness in this era. And yeah, it's definitely a tension we all feel that we were working our way through, but very
mm,
interesting. I'll send you Cult Gaia. It's like so
I feel
funny.
like one piece of what you're saying, like the looping thing, like definitely also experienced that because it sort of yes mans you, like, oh, this is great, like keep going, like that whole thing. And where the friction comes in and where I feel like I'm not supported by AI is the taste part, like having like go this way or that way, like decision making, and then bringing it into the world, like activating it. I feel like there's like a cliff there. So it is like going to another dimension where it's like feels really good and like you feel really powerful and you can make anything. And then, but moving it out of that space is one place where I'm playing. So, like, okay, if this is how it's working, and like Dave and I've been working a lot in Google Docs, so I'm like taking things out and then moving it into another place to like shape the thinking into some kind of form to move it out into the world, like move it into action in some other way. But I noticed that right there, like that movement from being in the world to out of the world. And then there's times where it's almost like being high, where you're like, oh, it's all making sense. And then it gets into the Google Doc, and then I share it with someone else. And then when I see someone else looking at the thing, I start noticing where I'm like, oh, that doesn't make any sense. Like that, it's like AI speak, or, and like, it meant something when I was in the high state. Like it's just really, yeah, I don't, whatever that is very disorienting. And it's not that, like you were saying, Kaylee, it's not that I can't go into the Google Doc or whatever form, like, because it's sort of like a staging ground before it takes its final form, and then rework it. Sometimes I don't remember though, like the memory thing. I'm like, I don't even know what I was trying to say here. And like, that's a little disturbing because it felt so good in the state. So yeah, I see
Yeah.
people kind of laughing and nodding.
Yeah.
That,
And oh,
no, go ahead.
well, I just also coming from the brand marketing world, when you're doing brand positioning, like to me, it's like you're always fine tuning your messaging and where it's at. And what I learned with AI and how my brain even conceptualizes it is AI will take it and run with it in like one certain dimension, but
Yeah.
there's many, and you need to land it. And that's why
Yep.
it's so hard to understand it, because it's like, yeah, that's correct. It's just in that direction. I don't know if that's the direction I'm fully committed to going yet.
Yeah.
I also just wanted to show you guys this. I'll send it after. It's called the Encyclopedia of Bad Taste. I'll drop it in. But it is so funny. My sister thrifted it and I got a copy. And it goes from A to Z. F is fish sticks. Like I'm gonna post, I was thinking about posting this like almost one every day, so that in this era where we're like talking about taste is the mode, like in order to taste, you gotta be able to cook and you gotta know like
Yeah.
what works and
Hmm.
what doesn't. And yeah, so just I think that's funny.
Well, unfortunately, the AI was probably trained on that book, and that's
I
why
mean,
it's so
that's
bad.
what I thought.
Yeah, really. That explains a lot. Although some of this, I don't know if I agree with. A for AstroTurf. No,
It's all how you use it, you know? I wanted to loop back to the like high state thing, and I'm curious if any of you guys like landed on this. Um, like, so I do producing work, and I'm working with people who are making a lot of things, and creative founder types in particular, and they tend to be design engineering focused. And so the AI stuff has come in and like unlocked all of this potential, and they can now make all these things by themselves. And every single one of them has gone through a mania, and it is like the
Yes.
ramped up version of that high state
Yes.
where something has been able, like they're able to get to some type of creativity that was blocked by collaboration or by complexity or something like this, and
Mm.
they're just on a high for like weeks or whatever it is, and then inevitably they come down, like the heroin wears off or whatever it is. So anyways, that's a noticing that I've seen,
Well,
and managing that state and relationship to what it's doing is an interesting thing.
that's the cliff thing. So
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
thinking, Svetlana, of a shared community that we're a part of. It's like very technologist forward. And I have this hypothesis: the community got really quiet. And I was like, I think everyone is just in their own little worlds building with AI, because a lot of people had a lot of like really like big ideas that all of a sudden, and then they could go figure out. And it's just like they were getting more and more into it's like horse with blinders almost. And then it's like everyone comes in with, but they're not collaborating anymore. It was really
Yeah.
interesting. I don't know. That's just a hypothesis. But it happened around the time that everyone was, it was definitely, there was AI mania. And like at the same time, other technologists, software engineers were like, I'm abandoning this career. I think it's dead on arrival. And it was just like, whoa. It was just like all these like takes. And so like watching that happen in community was really interesting to me and like confusing. I think not just for me, but for other people in the community as well. Like what's happening? Like are people off like living their best lives or are they like having mental
Earning
breakdowns? Like
token.
yeah, it's like yeah, it's confusing in some ways.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I probably did have that mania phase as well in the beginning,
Yeah.
like 3 years ago, but I've gone through like so many cycles of it now where it's like you kind of chase that thing and it ends up being a mirage,
Yeah.
or like you get there and then it ends up like, oh, the underlying models or the techniques to keep things going just change so significantly that it's like, to me, the change has become very mundane at this point,
Mm.
where it's like I look at like whatever, it's like, oh, new models are coming out this week or whatever, and I'm like, oh, that's cool, whatever, I guess I'll test them out when they come out. But like, I think I see a lot of what people are posting on internet, and it's like I also like don't believe that they're good workflows either. Like I think a lot of what people share is like cherry picked, and it's like, hey, they might
Mm.
have generated like 100 ideas or spent like, thousands of dollars on tokens to get like one or two good examples, and those are what they share. But then like if you try that same thing out, it just really doesn't work as well as you would think. And like I've been a professional doing this for a long time now, and like I think I'm quite good at it, but like even trying to get a certain result, it's like it still takes me many days to weeks to get something that's like actually reliable, that other people can use. And so I think it's just it's actually like it's simultaneously like both overhyped and underhyped. But
Mm.
I think like the mania is like I can't even fool myself with thinking that like a new technique or new thing is going to make things any better. It's like, to me it all feels like it's like these things are actually like very marginal, and like, yeah, it's like you might get like a little bit of an edge with the new stuff, but it's like, um I don't feel like there's like one new unlock around the corner that's going to change my creative process by any means at this point. And so maybe that's like too cynical a take, but I think it's like that's been really tampering my mania from coming back.
Mm. Mm.
I also had a similar like unlock happen when I had like a bunch of coding anxiety basically for my whole college. I was like, I'm a woman, I can't code, I can't do computer science, all of these like psychological blocks that basically like were like holding me back from touching code. And then as soon as I started seeing AI as a co-creator, as like someone who helps co-shape the thing that I'm making, um, and because I do know the computer science concepts, it's just unlocked so much of creativity, and I am loving it so much. And so I am seeing myself more of like a curator, right? Like AI is like this like infinite like stream of stuff, and like most of it is like, yes, slop and garbage, but like I have a taste, right? And so I can like constrain it and direct it to go to a certain direction. And what I'm observing now is that like what I'm observing now is that like my biggest difficulty is no longer is like creating things, because I have also so many ideas, just like I think Kaylee, but it's like psychological blocks, like of like sharing them out to the world, or like
Mm.
I don't know, my relationship with money is like really difficult, so I'm like, I don't want to be things that are making money, like I just, and so so yeah, it's like, and I enjoy that. Like I think intelligence is so overglorified sometimes, like cognition is going worse or something. Okay, so what? Like then maybe I can focus on emotional intelligence,
Yeah.
on like my relational intelligence, on my somatic intelligence. There's just so many things that I can focus on as a human being, and we've been like all like worshiping intelligence. I'm like, well, good to see that things are shifting, and now I have more space for something else as well. And maybe it's now that I can direct my time to like digging into my relationship with money and digging into my relationship with being out there with my projects, all of those things. So I'm still like, I know, loving AI as a co-creator, and we'll keep going with it. Yeah.
That's fascinating. I've experienced that pattern as well. Like, I spent a long time, similar to Alex, in building things and being in engineering teams and design teams and all this kind of thing. And a lot of our cognition was trying to get the thing into the world through all of the many steps that it takes. And some of that work has been compressed significantly. I think that work will fill the gap on that. But I'm noticing in myself, I don't want to make more complex things necessarily, like more complex technical things. Like it doesn't light me up. For the people it does, that's great for them. Um, I've noticed that as the intelligence becomes a commodity, I'm able to invest in other types of value. And so, like, what does it mean to like play with facilitation and be in different groups, and what does it mean to like do inner work and all of these kinds of things? The commodification has like released that energy, and thinking about where to put that energy. Like, am I going to socialize more? Am I going to play more? Am I going what am I going to do with it? I think that there is this notion that I keep seeing that like there is work that is like energetic work that has been freed up, and we should apply it to more work, like making more things. And okay, I mean, maybe I already work enough. I don't know that I need to work harder and harder and harder to get ahead or whatever it is. This is the sort of competitive like narrative that we have to win the thing. And I like competition, it's good. But I don't know, there's a rat racy thing in here that is like sneaking into like productivity gains, and they have to be spent. And I think that when Alex was talking about like the people who are on Twitter or wherever it is, like posting all of these things that they're making that are not things, I think that that's feeding this is like part of the, I don't know, work addiction or something that is getting like fed with tokens. So yeah.
Just the new form of productivity theater. It was really
Yeah.
funny
Million
watching
percent.
all the big companies have these like token
Mm-hmm.
leaderboards, and then they all got gamed of PMs writing the dumbest things imaginable, and then they're like, "Oh, it
Oh,
turns out this was all a terrible idea. Shut it down."
that concept. So this concept that if you can go like, it's the same thing. Like the metric is making code commits, and the more code that you're writing equals good somehow, is the
Yeah.
craziest thing on earth. Like I don't know where that has ever worked. So anyways, yeah.
Just the quantitative thing is just rough there. Like I'm laughing at the ear work is a good
Oh yeah.
miss here of inner work. I have found that chatting with Claude to get like self-reflection on like something that I'm like in my head about, it's been phenomenal at just because I don't feel judged at all, and it's not a person, so I can just but then I tend to talk about it afterwards with people, like, oh, because I'm getting actual insights. And I had this, like, I dropped in the chat where it feels like going into an alternate dimension to hunt for treasure. And so part of it is knowing, and like, I think maybe with the inner work, because it's almost like journaling with someone, when it really hits, like, you feel it. And so, like, the treasure is very obvious. It's more difficult for other creation, I guess, because I don't know. I'm curious about that though, because maybe that's not true. But I've loved it for inner work and like getting at certain, like finding new perspectives on self that I can bring into the world more, that I have been afraid to. And then I feel less fear because I'm like, oh, well, someone else, I don't know, like someone else saw it. And then I have this feeling too, because it's trained on human like stuff, that I'm not the only one. Like it's coming from some reflection of humanity, which is, I don't know, it's kind of weird, but it feels good.
I agree with that. I love using it for more inner work And I actually yesterday I recorded a voice message of me just dumping all of my thoughts because I was just like I'm feeling stuck. I'm in like a transitionary period with work. So I was feeling really stuck with what I was doing. So I literally 15 minutes just dumped all of my thoughts and then I took the transcript of that, put it in to I was using ChatGPT because I don't have Claude, but I bet Claude would have been better. And I just like asked it to summarize all of my notes into something that like was coherent and made sense. And I read through all of the summary and it basically just tied together all these thoughts that I already had in my head, but I wasn't able to link. And I typically am not very good at zooming out. I'm like
Mm.
really good zoomed in, but I need help with zooming out. And so it helped me really zoom out and look at it from all of these different perspectives. And then I was able to chat with it about like zooming out on certain things and helping create plans for me, like a assistant or almost like a, project manager of sorts. Um, and it was super helpful. And I feel like I left feeling not as stuck and more hopeful. And it's funny because like my husband's constantly trying to like talk to me about this stuff and like all the things I said into my voice message, I have said to him, and he's probably said a lot of the same things that I
Oh,
received
interesting.
via AI, but
Hmm.
like I think I just hear his perspective so often that it's not that I don't trust it, but I just need another perspective. And it felt more, I hate to say more valuable, but like, I don't know, it's like I hear him, but then when someone else validates that, I'm like, oh, cool. Okay, now I can move forward into this way, which I don't know what that says because I know that I should be, appreciating actual humans saying things to me, but I find it very helpful just to talk through and also not to like unload on another individual before you have the concepts in your head.
Yeah, I can share a little bit. I off of that, and yeah, I have so many thoughts. This is awesome just to hear other people, and I really thanks for putting this on. Yeah, I do that to Lane of just the like the voice note into so I built a bunch of like kind of I have a lot of ADHD, which you guys will probably tell as I talk, but like managing my life has is what I use Claude Code
Mm.
for mostly, where I've kind of built this chief of staff and it knows all of my different parts of my life. And I've always struggled a lot with and been obsessed with like PKM, personal knowledge management tools, and like all of that, which I've always hated also because I think it's total bullshit. But I'm like obsessed with making these systems, and the problem with those systems is like then you become obsessed with the system way more than actually the thing that you wanted to put in there. And the way that I use Cloud Code is the first time I feel like where that's not true, where like I can just kind of throw it in and have some basic organizational structure and it knows based on how I've adjusted it to like build to like hold all of that for me over time in a way that's actually really helpful for me. And yeah, that's been awesome. And so what I've been doing, I'm a writer mainly, and but I've been teaching this thing called Code for Creatives, where I teach other people how to use AI for creative work. But like basically, the tagline is like automate the boring, protect the weird, and
Hmm.
that's sort of the vibe. Is like I don't think it's all that great. It's great for a lot of work, including some creative work, but like the goal is like to automate all the shit that isn't the like the magic stuff that you want to protect.
Yeah.
And it's just been really cool to like I've had 3 cohorts now and about 60 students have done it to just like see a lot of people go through these kinds of experiences. Um, and yeah, and like to have totally different relationships with what they want to use it for and what they don't. Um, I find that for myself, like with my own writing. This is going back to something you said, Dave, of like the I notice, I think one of the most important things that I try to tell people is like you really want to like clock when you feel good using it and when you feel bad using it. Because I
Yeah.
feel like when I use it for writing, I feel terrible. Like it
Yeah.
makes me feel like a piece of shit. Like, and I don't like the writing, I don't like the process. And like that's just a really good sign, of like, okay, I don't want to use it for that. I don't like how it feels. It
Yeah.
feels really bad,
Mm,
and I think that is a really good kind of that's a good compass for me of like, does it feel good?
mm,
And with writing, I don't like, because writing is really important to me or whatever. It's like that for me is not good. I don't like it. Whereas for so much other stuff, it's like it's awesome. And I feel like I'm building and creating and doing weird stuff, and it feels like the old internet, where you just like made weird shit. And that's the
Hmm.
other big thing I push people toward is like make weird, dumb, funny stuff. Like don't try to make money. Don't try to just like make
yeah.
the dumbest stuff possible you can do now is like really what I like move people toward. And um yeah, it's really fun. And it's fun to like see people realize that, because I think people, they see everything online and they're like, "Oh, I guess I have to like automate my life away or like make millions of dollars with OpenClaw." And it's like, "No, you don't have to do any of that." Um so it's cool to it's cool to kind of like feel like counter programming to a lot of what feels like
Mm.
giant loads of bullshit online. Um
Yeah, I really like that making dumb things. Uh, I'm curious how so you've sort of built this structure, this system for yourself and like ADHD stuff. I get it. Um, what have you noticed as a shift or a change as you've sort of given over some of the things that were squirrely to your system?
Yeah, there's a lot more space to try
Mm,
more bigger creative leaps and ideas. And I feel kind of, this is a weird word for describing AI, but I feel kind of held,
mm,
or like there's
sure.
like a net, there's
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
really good net that like stuff isn't gonna fall away or fall apart.
Mm,
Um, and that's a sort of self-fulfilling prophecy too, because like the more I believe that, the
yeah.
more it actually becomes true, and it might not have much to do with the AI.
Hmm.
Um, you
Yeah.
know, but it is a true feeling where I'm like, I feel, I don't know, less chaotic and less overwhelmed by that chaos.
Mm,
Um,
interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, I feel like a similar thing. I don't know if I've thought about it in the language of being held, but that it does resonate, which is weird.
It's
There,
weird.
and it's just an interesting inquiry.
Supported.
Yeah, it's an interesting inquiry into trust that
Yeah.
the relevant things, the things that matter will come back. And I think like part of what I'm feeling into here is that what AI can do is reflect in a way. So it's like you're being seen and it's not as deep as a person seeing you, but because of like what Svetlana was saying around like when it's about self, like the inner work, I don't know. Like when it hits and like there's some part of you, it feels like a mirror a little bit.
Yeah.
And so if something is mirroring you back and you're giving it your like Kaylee's best ideas that just keep coming and like what you're talking about, Alex, it's sort of like, yeah, I see you, I got you. And then there's just some part of us relaxes maybe. Like I feel it too. I'm curious
Mm,
about whatever this is and like what this relationship is with a non-human because it's very bizarre. Because it's felt sense. Kaylee, I think you're going to say something.
Oh yeah, I think that's why I don't like or I feel bad when it asks me to clarify things or give it more detail because it's jarring when I'm like
Mm,
using it or relating to it in a way where it is that mirror or it's like if I think about the two sides of my brain needing to connect, AI is kind of like around it a little bit. Like it's weird. And so when it asked me to do that, I'm like, oh, you're not what I thought you were. Like, how come you're not kind of like mirroring back to me intuitively, almost like how I think or whatever. So
Mm.
that is interesting, and um, it's definitely, yeah, it's definitely something to be wary of. But it's also interesting to ask yourself, or for me to ask myself, like, why do I have expectations of it like that? And you know,
Yeah.
yeah. So.
Sometimes
Mm.
it makes me worried about like future critical thinking skills and making connections because I think, sometimes it
Mm.
is you have to go through something to get to the other side and
Yeah.
learn.
Yeah.
And it's all about practice and like those connections in your brain. And I worry that either for younger people are going to stop trying to make those connections, and because it's the path of least resistance, right? Like instead of thinking critically about something, oh, let's just ask AI to do it, or let's just ask them to answer a question instead of having to go through like, I mean, I just talked about how instead of like solving a problem, and going through it for multiple hours, you're just trying to expedite the process. It does worry me a little bit, because I think the world, almost need both. Like you need to be able to dump for 15 minutes and get a quick response and feel a little bit better, but then you also need to think critically about a problem and almost work through it and make those connections in your brain. And I just fear for the younger generation that aren't doing that, even for learning about just like answering questions, for instance. I'm like a very curious person. I'm constantly asking questions and I'm constantly like looking things up and going down rabbit holes. And I remember I was with a friend once and we were like, oh, I wonder where, I forgot what it was, but it was like, I wonder where like ships are made. I don't know, something like that, like random thing. I wonder where that ship is made. And I was about to look it up, and they're like, wait, why don't we talk about our
Yeah.
thoughts and then we'll look it up? Like, let's
Love it.
decide, let's like go through the conversation, or else the conversation's dead once you look
Mm.
it up instead
Yeah.
of being like, wait, what? And then we both like had our hypothesis, and it was kind of more of a game and more fun. And we connected on it instead of being like, I'm just gonna look it up. Like it's like we have so much access now that it almost can cut creativity if you're
Mm.
not careful.
Yeah.
I,
That
I love
that
that.
tracks a lot. Like so there what came to mind there is this notion. Marshall McLuhan, he's a sort of media theorist and has this he has these sort of laws of technology and innovation, and one of them is that something new comes in and we gain an ability, and then with every gain we lose something, like there's a trade.
Yeah.
And so I think that what I hear there is
Yeah.
we're pointing at what we're trading out. And a
Yeah.
lot of what the conversation is we got all this stuff now. And so I'm curious about what we're potentially handing off, right? And I've noticed it. I think that talking about the creative process and the wrestling with trying to understand what it is that is trying to be expressed is something that I've noticed, particularly in my illustration work. And so I'm not a very good illustrator, is the way that I feel. Like it
Mm.
takes me a long time to get to something that like I have a felt sense of and then comes into an image. And now I can describe things more rapidly, but I'm not going through and I can get to an image very quickly with the image models. And that's cool. And I can express in a different way there that I wouldn't be able to. But I have lost the pilgrimage from blank slate to image. And I got to know myself in that work in a
Mm-hmm.
way that when I can just and then output it, there's still taste and all these kinds of things. It's just a very different thing. So yeah, it's one place that I notice I miss myself a little bit sometimes.
Mm.
That's making me think one of the projects that's sort of been like simmering on a back burner for me. I have a shamanic journey work practice, and it's a very immersive experiential thing. It's spiritual. Like I could never outsource that to anything else aside from my own practice. But one thing I've wanted to do because it's so vivid in that world is to share experiences out to others in some way. And I don't have like barely any skills for drawing or illustrating. And so I would like to use AI to help depict like characters, like outfits basically, like totems, like things that like I experience in that space. And that's interesting. And like, so what I'm playing with here is maintaining and like keeping the core experience and like the core practice, and then having a way to share that in like more than in words, because I can write, I can talk about it, but is there like, I want it to feel more immersive, like I want to share it out, because when I do share it with people, people are like, this is so elaborate, and I'm just like, for me it's just how it is. And then, well, what if I could share it with more people? What if it could feel, but every time I've tried, it doesn't feel as vivid. So like I'm working with that. And so what you just said, Dave, is kind of sitting with me of like the journey to the practice. And so like this would be like an art practice with AI. And I've fallen off of it a couple times because it feels frustrating, because I'm like, it's just so much better in my mind. I'm
But
just
that,
going to put this down. Yeah, go ahead, Alex.
sorry, I mean, isn't that like all of creativity?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like so much of all this is like it's not actually about AI. It's just
Yeah.
about like making something good
Yeah,
that's different and interesting and
yeah.
create and like I like if someone made something visual and it was beautiful and then I learned that they was all AI, I'd be like, cool. But if when you make like that sloppity, like wet feeling terrible stuff that I'm like, this sucks. And I don't know, that to me is the thing that I always like rest in. I don't know, has anybody read Finite and Infinite Games?
Yeah.
That book? Okay,
Yeah,
hell
I
yeah.
love it.
Wow, that is the most amount of people that in a room that have said yes to that question ever. Sweet God. Well, one of the things he says in that is like the difference between society and culture. And he's like, society is a finite game, culture is the infinite game. And society right now to me feels very much like AI. It's like the rules, it's
Mm,
Hmm.
very formulaic, it's like
totally.
it's the norm. But the beauty of what he says in that book is like culture is always just the response. So you're always responding to the thing. So if AI is the thing, you just respond to it. And that's where all the interesting art is going to be, whether it's made with AI or not. Like that doesn't actually matter. It just matters that like we all have this like kind of collective societal norm. You see something new and it's like, hell yeah, that blew my mind because it's different from the norm. And
Mm.
so I just like always rest in that. I'm like, it's all gonna be fine. I don't know. That's like that to me is my hope is that it's all gonna be fine.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah.
Yeah, that resonates a lot with me. The the notion that like whatever the context we're in is now defined somewhat by the AI stuff. It's going to be, right? And so then we as artists, as creative folks, get to feel into it and then bring forward whatever our response to that is. Like it's a conversation. And so the notion that whatever, it's eating all of our jobs, like, okay, fuck that reality, I don't
Hmm.
care about that reality. So like, what is the reality in which we are making dumb things, or we're making things that like have an opportunity to bring us together in some kind of way that wasn't available otherwise? Or is there some kind of expression that we couldn't get to before that allows for us to understand the world in some kind of way? Like all of those things are up for grabs, and we have the opportunity and the ability to play with it, especially now because the thing isn't inherently creative. Like the
Yes,
creativity
exactly.
comes from us goofing around.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
it is this is the play thing. And where society has like sort of done the structural thing and said like, you play like this, which is not play,
Yeah.
those are the
Right.
places that we get to step outside of and start to goof around for the sake of it. this is I think your notion of like making dumb things. Like
Yes.
that's where we find the new patterns, all of this kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I think AI, like the way that it will never win is that it's like creativity is inherently human, and we will always need to have that perspective put into things.
Hmm.
And I do believe that as the cycles go, everyone's excited about what AI can mean, but I think we also are still human and we want to feel that natural connection with other people. I think a lot of people I've been noticing have been wanting to do spend less time on their computers, spend less time on the internet because they're like so saturated with all of
Yeah.
this that I think as we grow in this, trend of everything's AI and everything is automated, we'll be like, okay, well, now let's get back to the root of like being a human again.
Yeah.
So many people like are building stuff with their hands for fun now
Mm.
more than they were before. I think there was like, let's build things on the internet, and now tech people, like a lot of people have come to me that were in tech being like, I want to build a physical product because they're
Mm.
just sick of being on the internet.
Mm.
So I feel like it's a loop that and a cycle that will just keep continuing. Also, I just feel like we don't always need to be automating everything. Like,
Well, you
it
can't
drives
Yeah.
me
automate
crazy. My
everything.
husband will come up to me and be like, I have this new idea. And like, I love when he has new ideas, but he'll be like, we could do this. And I'm like, why? And he's like, because it'll make it 2 seconds faster. And I'm like, I don't care. Like, that's not actually
He's such an engineer.
necessary. Yeah, I know he's an engineer, so that's why. But like, I just think like we need to also stop trying to automate our entire lives because then there's nothing left.
I do
I
want to
mean,
do a
yeah.
quick time check just to be mindful of time. If people need to jump, go for it. Otherwise, we can kind of wind it down in the next couple minutes.
I had one more quick thing to say that I feel like is, I don't know, relevant. A lot of what I've been doing, or I do a lot of improv comedy, and I've done a ton of
Mm.
improv training for like the last 12 years. And um, one of the rules of improv, or one of the things they teach you that really resonate, that I think about a lot with my writing and in general, is like treat the audience like they're geniuses,
Mm.
because they are, and like you don't have to dumb anything down is kind of the idea in improv. Like they'll stay with you. And if you try to dumb things down, they'll be offended. They'll be like,
Mm.
"Why are you doing that? Like
Interesting.
I know what is happening. Like you don't have to treat me like an idiot." And I feel like a lot of this stuff, it's like from the creator standpoint, we've talked a lot about, but like when you think about the audience who's receiving art and create the creative work that you make, like they're really smart. So they're gonna
Mm.
know if you put your soul into it or if you like copied it. And you might
Yeah.
like get one past them,
Yeah.
but that's not new either. Like there have been people who like ghostwrite books or have other people, like it's very expensive to like lie that long.
Yeah.
And we're really good at knowing when people are lying for any amount of time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like, again, it's like I don't know, I just trust audiences to
Mm.
know, and I trust myself to know when it feels good and when it doesn't.
Yeah. I think
That idea you said, Dave, like missing myself, it's like, so that's how it feels when I'm using it in a way that feels bad.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
Lane, what you were saying about like connections. Like I once gave it an early essay draft, and it made too many good connections. And I was like, that we're never doing that again. Like because
Too much.
that's my job.
Yeah.
And I have to like, I don't know. I really didn't like it. I was like, that's not cool. Um, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, this try. I think that's back to the optimization thing. Like, what are we choosing to optimize? So, like there's like going on a walk, for instance.
Right.
You go outside and you're experiencing the world, and you see a dog, and like it's pretty out, and all these kinds of things. You could optimize that,
You could be in a
like
car.
right. I'm in a car, and no more walk, and
Yeah.
so the entire experience of the walk is optimized, and you've
Yeah.
gotten there like way faster, right?
Yeah.
And you lose all of these kinds of things. Similar for the making the connections, like from a felt sense. You know,
Yeah.
you're trying to bring forward something that you're sensing from reality through an essay. And if it does all the connections, you've simulated your thinking.
Yeah.
And now you don't get to go on the walk anymore. So
No.
you have
Yeah.
not grown. Like, and it's not grown because it doesn't give a shit.
Right. Right.
I'm,
Right.
I'm seeing Wally right now. Wally
Mm.
comes up all the time. Just like automate stuff. We don't have to walk anymore. Like we just basically burn the earth, and then what comes
Yeah.
back are little creatures, and like it's life, it's creativity of a kind that is organic, and it's such a good movie.
Yeah, I just watched it recently. It's so good.
Yeah.
Again, I've seen it before, but
You're like, wait, let me specify.
My
yeah,
kids,
yeah.
I have a 5-year-old and a 2.5-year-old. They love it. It's like it's one
Nice.
of those that like kids
It hits.
and
Yeah.
yeah, it hits.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
But I think this is also optimizing, like optimizing is not just with AI too. Like it's with like people, all of the gadgets, I think were the
Hmm.
gateway. The Aura Ring, the
Yeah.
Apple Watch. I mean, I was listening to a podcast where they were talking about, and I'm not going to note the study numbers or anything, but they were talking about how there's a lot of people that are having really, really bad anxiety around these different gadgets because,
Mm.
you go on a walk and if you don't have your Apple Watch on, you feel like you didn't even go on that walk. Or
you
what
didn't
was the point
exist.
of going on that walk
Yeah.
if I
Yeah.
didn't record it for the data?
Yeah.
Like, even though the whole point is you're doing it for your health, but it didn't actually happen unless it's been put into the data set. So I think like we've been starting this and now it's just ramping up at like an exponential pace with AI. So I don't think it's anything new. I just think
Yeah.
it's speeding up a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is a good note to end it on, but it all just feels like fear of death to me. Just
Yes.
like
Denial of death.
yeah, it's like
We're
this
gonna
weird
die.
thing. I mean, I found myself in that boat with an Apple Watch, like was like obsessive about it, and I was like when I realized it, I'm like looking at the thing, and I was like, "Fuck this!" Like, and then it's been sitting in a drawer for years now because I'm just like I can't like, it's too much. It's too much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Y'all read
Hey,
that book, Denial of Death?
No, I just
No.
pulled it up.
It's awesome. It's about
Ooh.
basically that like yeah, everything we do is a denial of is like
Mm.
fighting death.
Yeah, which is not really living.
No.
No,
It's
this
like
is I like the notion of like philosophy as dying well.
Mm.
So how are you dying well today? I went on a walk and I pet 3 dogs.
Mhm.
Didn't even wear an Apple Watch.
Mhm.
I did both of those things this morning.
See? You're
I
dying
was like,
well,
are you
Lane.
speaking to Lane? You're talking about dogs. Yeah.
Dogs and walks. And I forgot my Apple Watch. And I was like, shit, I forgot my watch. And then I let it go. It's like, it's fine.
See? That's practice for dying.
This is
Yeah.
the opposite, but you can update the health data later in your iPhone if
I
you want
know.
to add the
But
steps.
then I just don't even, I'm
Yeah.
like,
Why am I
No,
doing
I
this?
know.
get into
I'm
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's a good thing, but I am saying I do sometimes update those stats. You know what I mean?
Machine must feed.
Yeah,
Otherwise, it will starve.
I need it to know what I did, that I was a good
Yeah.
boy. You know?
Yeah.
I get it. Cool.
This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
My one like takeaway is we should make these 90 minutes just to give it a little bit of breathing room.
Yep.
Yeah. Really nice to talk with all of you and lots of food for thought. Like I think it'll be interesting to reflect on the conversation later. And maybe use a little AI to see what themes we're drumming up. But I hope when we do release it out that other people get, because I'll just continue my analogies of being high. People get a contact high, like, and we've found this before. Dave and I have recorded conversations like this, and as they circulate, people like will watch and it'll be like 90 minutes 2 hours of just people talk and we're like and they're like this was amazing and it's like what like how why like okay cool
Because as people, we do this really well. It's how we make sense of the world. And being able to poke into each other's point of view expands us. And so we come away having more than we came in with. That's what I feel like right now. So it's great. I love that feeling.
It's nice to
Yeah.
share. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Cool.
Thank you, everybody.
We'll stay in touch with everyone and we'll let you know when it's live. And I don't know, don't be a stranger. Reach out. If something comes to mind, think of us. All right. Take care. Have a good rest of your
Thanks
day.
so much,
Bye-bye.
y'all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thanks for
See ya.
being here.